Here's an interesting find. The Bird-Man of Siberia. Sensational finds in the heart of Russia puzzle scientists. This is up in the Russian steppe area here. Two unique burials of the Odinov culture, which is early Bronze Age, were unearthed last year at Ust-Tartus site in Novosibirsk region. And it's got that Tartus with the name there. I want to denote that. Inside one of them, researchers found several dozen long beaks and skulls of large birds assembled into something that looked like a collar, a headdress, or even perhaps an armor. And this harkened, whenever they saw it, to like the M. Night Shyamalan movie or whatever, where you see the people that are, it's that weird movie where when you watch it, everything's in medieval times, and you don't realize till much later that they're people gone back to an Amish way and living in medieval times in a modern America, with the sheriff and thing that shows up and all that. But nothing of this kind was ever found as part of Odinov culture in all of Western Siberia, said researcher Lila Kobelva from the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography. Why do we think that this is part of clothing? Well, the beaks were assembled at the back of the skull along the neck, as if it was a collar that protected the owner when he lived here. Another version is that the beaks, numbered between 30 and 50, were part of a ritual costume that he had worn. And this looks like some type of shamanistic thing. And whenever you have the shaman ideas from back in these people were not unique in any way, that they had a bird cult going on concept where the birds would take the family or the life to the afterlife by consuming the body up onto a dais and taking it away. And I've told you about a lot of that, and this strangely could be one of the last remnants of that. And you're seeing the idea. I don't know if you can tell in the picture here, but this thing is swathed with red ochre all over it, and there are pieces of his costume still trapped here that you can see. But again, it goes all around the back of his neck with all these bird heads that they had. And so he was somewhat of a bird god type of guy, I guess. Fairly tall, too. I want to make a note, too, when you look at the grave here, how they had carved down into quite well around here in this loop. And there's actually two bodies semi-connected to each other, it seemed, in this one area. Right? Like this. And these stanchions that are put up in between this burial and this burial, too. They both seem to contain this type thing, but this one was done in a slightly different way. He slumped, which they found odd as hell, and just way loaded with red ochre, and more of the bird set that they saw on it. And here's the researchers slowly taking instruments and trying to pick their way through one of those lumps that were on the ground and figure out all the things that it contains. And you can see the mess that would be if you take a close look at it. But it seems to contain wood along into it, and it's little slat work. It also seems to contain little bitty bird bones that are all through it too. And there's no sign of threading that would have held it all together, nor that would hold the beaks all together. One thought I saw in another, speaking of this, said they thought that they'd stitched the birds through their nostrils, but that's only a thought, and that it's possible that they had some other way of doing it. And you can see these little bitty bird beaks that are all right here. Now, another interesting thing found with this is that he's found with a pair of spectacles. They literally look like a pair of eyeglasses. And I know we don't have eyeglasses back then, but it looks like he's got these on to where he's mimicking a bird's eyes in some way. And he would put on this goggles type of thing that they had, and it would emulate perhaps an owl or birds in some way, shape, or form. Now, the type of birds will be determined later by ornithologists, but likely they were cranes or herons. And so this recounts to that phoenix idea. It's also not clear how the beaks were attached to each other or to fabric, as the science haven't found any mounting holes. So they can't figure out how it was attached totally. Once they get this thing totally out, I'll take a look through it and see if we can find out some more interesting facts. Months will be spent to separate and study the beaks, like you saw there, the ladies going through. Like jewelers, Novobrinsk Institute restorers will have to use the finest instruments and the smallest brushes in order to reveal the full wonder of that ancient creation as they slowly pick it apart. And who was this person that about 5,000 years ago wore clothing or an armor made of bird beaks? Let's see the little video that they have on this. See if it'll show. Oh, okay, so a bird skull with the long beak hanging down there and the one over there. And all those thin lines are made out of them, huh? No way to see any bindings, but that was just somebody with the researchers looking at what they had going on. It's kind of amazing there. Close to the BirdMan burial, the team of archaeologists found a double-layered grave with two children, aged approximately 5 and 10, buried on top. Underneath them, separated with a wooden overlay, lay a skeleton of a grown-up man and a treasure trove of artifacts. The most exciting item looked to be a pair of spectacles consisting of 2 bronze hemispheres and a bronze bridge. It lay right next to the man's skull. Traces of organic matter were found inside the hemispheres of the spectacles. They're not telling you what that is or if it's been analyzed yet. Experts believe that the item could have been part of either a burial mask or some headgear. Again, here's some of these very sharp and pointed bird beaks that they have that are attached to this outfit. Kind of amazing, but again, it harkens to this bird outfit type thing that you see in that movie that they had. And then, whenever it dies, it had these fake claws and stuff that were on it, and that suit that it had. And yeah, just kind of a strange M. Night Shyamalan reset here off of it. Here's another burial too, and in that, the oddity is these strange oval or half moon or crescent with a little hole through them that different sizes and different shapes. It almost looks like maybe a sun going down or dawn, and this brass here with these 2 castanets that are hooked up to it, and they still wonder what that is possibly for. Next to the man's left arm and around the waist lay 5 polished crescent-shaped stone pendants. They were used for rituals. These are unique items. We are very excited indeed to have found them. Both men must have carried special roles in society. I say so because we've been working on the site for a while and unearthed more than 30 burials. They all had interesting finds, but nothing we found earlier was as impressive as the discovery of these 2 graves. We suppose both men were some kind of priests. And again, here is that bronze couplet up there, and then these 2 castanet dishes that were found there too, and they're finally made. So I wonder exactly what that goes to. They didn't give a descriptive to it, and there's too much conjecture to be given to it. Again, I want you to look at how whenever they carve this out for these bodies, how it actually is just this perfectly carved out area and very smooth. These people, when they made the stone around these burials, are able to pull this thing out. This is not a natural formation, and you can see here, and no telling why they actually went with this wiggle around here when they could have gone square and so on. It could be the stone dictated it in some way how they did it here, but if you'll look, I mean, it's even got a little seated platform or a walking down and into place and all of that going on, and quite intricate. And you can see the staining on this body and how red it is. Pieces of turquoise, it looks like artifacts, or perhaps copper or bronze that have been, oxidated real bad over time, and this huge artifact that's here. And then here is some of these platelets that, if you'll look, there's a small one, a small to medium, and a bigger one, and then this big one here. And I don't know what this is supposed to signify, except for maybe the sun going down slowly, if you will, down the dawn, if you will, sun go down. Might have something to do with it. There's a few extra bones in the funeral arrangement too, which I think is kind of strange. Here you can see where one of those castanets was. That's what that bronzish green thing was, and I don't know what they're describing this is that's here, but again, here are these arched platelets and that hole that goes right through it there. Here's a group of them showing you here once they've been taken all out. And there's a smaller one, a big one, medium, and then God knows what this one is, just a smooth stone. Just not even really shaped, it didn't seem. And then there's another one that's arched also. It's kind of an oddity. Here they are lined up against the side, and then you can see what they're picking through and working on here, where they were found on the body and the pictures that were there too. So excellent find here, and again, it's just off the side of a road that people had found, and it's amazing what might just be right over there under your nose and you never knew it. All these farmland people find these things over time. It makes you wonder how many of them they ran through their farming equipment and ruined long ago and never knew about it, and they just got swamped under over time. But bronze spectacles were found inside of this 5,000-year-old burial, which is kind of neat. So he must have had some type of wise old owl or something we can always depict that he may have run. The Odinov culture is the beginning of the Bronze Age archaeological culture for foot hunters, named after the settlement Odinov in the basin of the lower Ishim River in western Siberian area. The culture is dated to the 18th to 16th centuries BC, but it may go back older. The Odinov culture is an island surrounded by forest steppe type cultures of array or all the way around them. So this is a people that was slightly different than a lot of the blend that was running around them, and that's one reason people definitely look into this, is saying, well, ooh, here's somebody that's a little different, and of course that always sparks interest. Its settlements are situated along the terraces of the rivers and creeks. Insufficiently known dwellings appear to be dugouts. It's thought that Odinov culture rose from Neolithic forest steppe cultures in the Ishim area. And hopefully they can get some genetic data out of these people and out of these bones and stuff, and we might be able to get a haplotype and figure out just what all goes with these ideas. There's still a bird head right there, trapped down in between his collarbones and stuff. I guess they'll slowly dig that one out a little bit later. But yeah, quite interesting find, guys. And like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. And as we get more new and interesting finds from this area, and hopefully genetics and other data out of it, I'll pass them along, because each one seems to have a little bit more connection. The oddity here is that it didn't really show any connection. It shows spectacles and eyeglasses and the bird cult that a lot of people can't prove went on in elder times, and here's definitely a showing of that concept. Peace.